Hello everyone! Good morning and welcome to another exciting episode of our Aquarium Online Academy. My name is Tiffany. I'm joined in the studio today with my friend Lourdes that's going to be taking us on our I Spy adventure. But before we get to that, if you would like to interact with us today, we do have a phone number that we would like you to text us. If you are watching this live Tuesday at 9 a.m., you can text us 562-286-1838. Now, if you're watching the recording of this episode, we would still love to hear from you, but please email us at live@lbaop.org. Okay, I said that we are going to be playing I Spy. Have you ever played I Spy before? You say, I spy with my little eye something green. And then the other person has to guess the green thing that you see. Today's episode is going to be all about observations. And we are going to be looking at different exhibits here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. And let me tell you, there is a lot of stuff to see. So I don't think we are going to run out of anything to I Spy. Right now, we are at Shark Lagoon. Oh my goodness, there are so many colors here this morning in Shark Lagoon, in addition to so many different animals here. So, what should we I spy? First of all, what do you notice? We're going to get that phone number up there again for you so that you can text us your observations. So go ahead and text us in any observations that you have, the colors that you see, the shapes that you see. Ooh, on these sharks, I'm seeing a lot of shapes. You might notice this zebra shark here. Look at that pattern on its skin. See a lot of polka dots. And all of this right here, the coral, I see so many colors. How many colors do you see? Let's name them and count them together. So I see some green, that's one. I see some purple, two. I see some yellow, three. Orange, four. Is that all the colors? I think I see four colors. The green, yellow, purple, and orange. Look at all those colors. Those bright, beautiful colors in that coral reef right there. Now, do you see the shape on the sharks that I was talking about? Let's see. Can we pull up a picture of a shark? While Lourdes gets a picture of a shark, we'll go ahead and look at the sharks that we have here in Shark Lagoon. Look at their fins. What shape do you spy on those fins? You might be seeing a triangle. Do you spy other triangles in Shark Lagoon? So I have one of my zebra sharks right here, the one that has all of the polka dots, all of the circles on it. And you can see that all of these fins are triangles. And you know what? Let's count the number of fins we see on this shark. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This long tail is a weird shaped triangle, isn't it? But we see 8 fins on our shark. And sharks, you might have noticed, were swimming in water. Did you see them coming up to the surface to breathe air like you and me? No, That's because they breathe in the water. And they do that because they have gills. Do we see these lines here on the side? These sharks have what's called gill slits. Can we count? Do you spy how many gill slits this shark has? Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 gill slits. And guess what? The vast majority of shark species all have 5 gill slits on each side. So here's a picture of one of those black-tip reef sharks that we have in Shark Lagoon, and we can see all 8 of those triangle fins, and we can see the 5 gill slits here. And we see that the shark is mostly gray, but has black tips on the tips of all of those fins. That's how it gets its name, a black-tip reef shark. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our next habitat adventure. So in Shark Lagoon, that is a tropical habitat with some nice warm water. Although it's getting pretty hot here in Southern California. I don't know if I want to go swimming in warm water. I might need to cool down. But in that nice warm water, we saw, how many was it? 4 different colors on our coral reef. We got to see all of the triangle fins on our sharks. We got to see their 5 gill slits. Let's see what habitat Lourdes has for us next. Oh, so we are still hanging out in a somewhat warm, temperate, or at least we're getting a little bit more temperate now, habitat this summer. Did you hang out at a place that kind of looks like this? This is a beach, but this isn't like the beaches that we have here in Southern California. You might notice it's not quite as nice and sandy. It's a little bit more rocky, but wait a second. Those aren't people sunbathing at the beach. What do you see? What do you eye spy? Penguins! But wait a second. I don't see any ice or snow. What are the penguins doing here at this hot, hot beach? Well, these are Magellanic penguins, and actually, the majority of penguin species don't live in the ice and snow. They might live somewhere like this, where it's actually similar to what we have here in Southern California, the beach. So these Magellanic penguins spend a good part of the year, a whole season of the year, just swimming out in the ocean, getting food. But then when it's time for them to get into their breeding season to make a nest with their mate, they're going to come back onto the beach, and it's like a big family reunion. And they're going to have lots of honking, and they're going to try and find their mate. Because while they were swimming, they might not be swimming with their mate. So they're going to try and find them here on the beach, and then they're going to make a nest. Now, it's not like a nest like birds that live in trees, and it might not be a nest like you might have seen on a penguin documentary. You've seen that the penguins hold the egg on their feet because everything is ice and snow and so cold. These penguins dig a hole that is called a burrow, and that's where they'll lay 1 to 2 eggs. Now, we're playing I Spy, so take a couple of moments. What do you see? What colors do you see? What shapes do you see? Take a couple of moments and feel free to text us with any observations you might have. All right. What did you see? What do you I spy? You probably see a lot of black and white. Our penguins are mostly black and white. We have that black feathers all along their back, and we got white all along their bellies. Now, this is actually a form of camouflage. Now, you might be thinking, but when they were over on that beach, they were definitely standing out. They weren't blending in with anything. But this color pattern of being dark on your back and light on your belly is a form of camouflage that many sea animals have. Think about orcas. They are also black on the back and white on their bellies. That's because when they are swimming through the water, think about if you were swimming in the water and you look up, right? There's so much bright sunshine coming down that if the animal that's above you has a white belly, they're probably just going to blend in with all of the bright sunlight. But if you were swimming and one of these animals was below you, well, going deeper into the ocean, it gets pretty dark. So having a dark back helps them blend in with the darkness of the deep, deep ocean. So by having the black and white pattern that they have on their feathers actually helps them to blend in. And you'll notice that the feathers even go all the way around their eyes. Now they do lose the feathers around their eyes, and you'll start to see that they are pink underneath their feathers. And they lose them right around this area, and that helps to release some heat. Because once they come onto land and they're not in the cold water anymore, you saw that beach. Did you go to the beach this summer? Was it hot? Definitely. So they lose a patch of feathers right around their eye, and that helps them to release some of that heat because they don't sweat like we do. We sweat to try and cool down, but these animals do not sweat. I think their feathers would get pretty gross. Also, do you spy this hole right here? That's where the penguin's nest is. So like I said, they're going to be digging holes, and that's where they're going to have their nest. Now, they can't dig with their hands, right? They have wings because they are a bird. They're going to be using their beak and mostly their feet. They have webbed feet that help them to swim, but it's also going to help them to dig that burrow for their eggs. And both the mom and the dad penguin take turns watching after the eggs and then going back out into the ocean to get food because they need that food to feed their little baby chick. And when the baby chick is born, what color do you think it is? Do you think it's black and white? Do you think it's purple? Do you think it's green? Do you think it's brown? It's actually going to be a fluffy gray. They are super fluffy when they are born, and their feathers are so fluffy they can't go into the water until they grow up a little bit more. But little penguins do grow up really fast. Within 3 months, they look just about the size as their parents. So they aren't those cute little fluffy things for very long. These are some young penguins that we had here at the aquarium. So this is them after just a couple of months. You can see that they almost have the same color as their parents, but it's not quite as black. And you see that they don't have the stripes on their chest yet either. And these young penguins are going to keep these feathers. They're going to go through their first migration season and then come back onto land and still have this first set of feathers. And then they'll lose all their feathers, and then they'll look just like the other adults after that. So it takes a full year where they kind of look just like a young penguin like this. Okay, we're about halfway through our program. Let's see where else we can go. So we visited the nice, warm, tropical habitat in Shark Lagoon. Then we went a little bit more temperate with our Magellanic penguins in South America. Let's see what Lourdes has for us next. Oh, we are definitely dipping our toe into some cold water now. I'll give you a couple of moments. What do I spy? Are there even any animals? in this picture? What do I spy? You might see some plants. You might see some algae. Are there any animals? Feel free to text us with any questions or observations that you might have. What colors do you see? This might not be as colorful as that coral reef we saw, but I definitely see a couple of colors. Where in the ocean do you think we could find this? All right, I gave you a couple of moments. Did you share your answers with someone nearby? Okay, let's see what we found. You might notice this kind of pinkish color. That is a type of algae you see growing on the rocks. You might see some of this kind of dark gray and even white rocks. This is a super rocky habitat so that animals can kind of hide in the little cracks and crevices. And this is actually something that we can find in our ocean backyard. So I am in Long Beach, California, and if I were to run and jump into the ocean, I would actually be able to find something very similar to this. You might also see kind of this green-brown color, this seaweed here. And this seaweed is actually going to be the favorite snack of the animal in this exhibit. Were you able to find the animal? What's this? It's not just a rock. This is an abalone. An abalone is a type of sea snail. And these sea snails get really, really big. Now that you know this is an abalone, a sea snail, how many can you spy in this picture? 2, 3, 5? How many? Let's go ahead and count them together. Are you ready? 1, 2, there's one behind the rock. 3, 4, 5, one down here, 6, 7, and I think there's a part of another one right here, 8. 8 abalone in this exhibit. Now, because we just see the seaweed and the rocks and the abalone, it's hard to tell how big these abalone are. So over on my document camera, I actually have an abalone shell. Now, abalone live a very long time, and you can see this shell in comparison to the size of my hand here. It is a very, very large shell, and definitely looks like a rock. These animals do not move very fast, so they might have algae and other things growing on their shell, and that just helps them out even more. That helps them to camouflage. That helps them to blend in with their environment. Because they move so slow, I'm sure you can imagine they can be a tasty snack for some other animals. Now, as the abalone grows, their shell grows with them. Do you see these bumps and then these holes? These holes are where waste will come out of, so that's where they go potty. But you can see that when the abalone was smaller, all the way over here are closed up holes. As the abalone grows, it grows new holes and it closes up the old ones. Now, wait, what's this? This is a number. Number 29. That is because abalone here in Southern California and abalone in general are actually endangered. So here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, we grow and raise abalone for them to be released back into their natural habitat. But because of that, we want to tag the animals so we can keep track of who is who. So we can see number 29, unfortunately, didn't survive, but definitely got to a very large size. Here's the inside of the shell. So a shell this size, this individual might have been maybe 15, 20 years old. This is a pretty big shell. So you see the inside is kind of that pretty pearlescent color. And these abalone are endangered because, like I said, they don't move very fast, and people also found out that they were good for eating, so they hunted them. So that is our abalone, and I think we have a picture of a baby abalone that we can show you. So this one is a couple of years old, and you can see that it has the number 5 on it, and this is a person's fingers. So they're holding it on their fingers, so that little abalone is probably only 1 inch, and this abalone might be 3 years old. So it takes them a long time to get big, like that shell that I was just showing you. When they are first born, they're just a tiny little speck that you can't even see. It takes them a long, long time to grow up. Awesome. All right. I think we have time to explore another habitat. We have really been traveling all around the Pacific Ocean. We got to see our warm tropical Pacific Ocean, then our temperate beaches with our penguins, and now we went a little bit more local with our abalone. Let's see what Lourdes has for us next. Ooh, this has got to be my favorite habitat. So many colors for us to see, so many shapes for us to see. Let's go ahead and take a couple of moments and share your observations. What colors do you see? What shapes do you see? Are there any animals in here? Are there any plants in here? Take a couple of moments to share your observations. Okay. Where do you think we can find this habitat? Do you think it's going to be warm, like that coral reef that we saw with all the colorful coral? Or do you think it's going to be cold, like where we saw the abalone? That was almost a trick question. This water is actually going to be cold, like where we saw the abalone. This is a tide pool, and we can find tide pools here in Southern California where our water is pretty cold. But you wouldn't expect to see these animals here in this cold water because they are so colorful. What colors do you see? Go ahead and shout them out. Oh, you see pink? You see orange? You see purple? You see white? Yeah, I see all those colors too. What shapes do you see? Lots of stars, right? You see circles? There's a couple of circles. Look, this one is a circle too. So we see some stars, we see some circles. This one is a little bit more of an oval. Let's talk about, did you see any plants? I actually don't see any plants, but I see a lot of animals. Let's start with this oval over here. That is a sea cucumber. You see that it is kind of a dark orange color. It looks like it has spikes, but actually, if you were to touch this animal, because we do have it here at the aquarium for you to touch, it would be very squishy. Yeah, look at this sea cucumber. It looks like it's covered in spikes. That looks like you might pet it and then, ow, it might hurt like a cactus. But these spikes are almost just pretend. It's almost like it's dressing up in a costume. It's just trying to scare the predators and saying, hey, I'm really spiky. You don't want to eat me. But if you were to actually touch it, it is actually very squishy. Okay, so we saw the sea cucumber. Look at this, 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 this. Those are all anemone. And the anemone, we said, was a big circle. But look at all of these little things that are like fingers. Those are its tentacles, and that's what it uses to catch its food. Now, this is an animal, even though you don't see any eyes. This hole right here is its mouth. So after it catches something in its tentacles, it's going to bring those tentacles inside into this mouth and eat whatever food it has caught. So an anemone might not always look like this with all of its tentacles out. Sometimes it might look all closed up, and I think that it kind of looks like a donut once it closes all the way up. Let's see if there was any ones that were closed up in that video. Let's see. Oh yeah, this big pink one right here looks like a big pink blob, but it actually is an anemone. So once it opens up, it's going to have a bunch of tentacles like this one. Okay, and this pink one up here, also an anemone. Now how about our sea stars? So we can see a sea star here and here and here. Ooh, this one is a bat star. It's a different one than these ochre stars. And we see some over here and here. One of those purple circles that we saw earlier, that is an urchin. We have a bunch of urchins in here. Now you might also see some seashells that are open. Those were definitely dinner for some of our sea stars. There's no more animal inside of those shells. All right, did we spy everything in here? Ooh, this down here is my favorite. Look at this little urchin. It's wearing a rock hat. How cute is that? So here's some more of those bat stars, and you really get to see all the different colors that those bat stars can be. You can see pink, orange. That one's kind of a light pink over here. So many different colors that all of these bat stars can be. Now, how many arms does the bat star have? Do you want to count them with me? Let's go ahead and count this arms on this orange one. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The bat stars have 5 arms. Now, a lot of sea star species actually do have 5 arms, but that doesn't mean that they are limited to 5 arms. Sometimes they can lose an arm and only have 4, but there are some species of sea stars that grow many, many arms. There are a species called sunflower stars, and they can have 20 arms. So many arms. What's the benefit of so many arms? I couldn't tell you. But most of the sea stars you're going to find actually just have 5 arms. Let's go back to looking at our tide pool, and maybe we can do some more counting. Ooh, sounds like someone just asked a great question. Sea star or starfish? That is a great question. So you can use either one, and we know what you are talking about, but we try to say sea star because guess what? Even though they live in the ocean, they are not a fish. Fish, let me see if I have a fish over here. Fish have fins. Do you see any fins on these animals? Nope, they're not doing any swimming. Fish are covered in scales. Now I know that it looks like it has scales, but it doesn't have scales like a fish does. And fish have gills that they need to breathe in the water. And sea stars are a little bit more simplistic of an animal, of an organism, than our fish are. So they are not a fish. They also don't have bones. Feel your arm? Do you feel that hard thing inside of your arm? That's bones. If I were to take an x-ray of this fish, I would see that it has bones. Inside of the sharks we saw earlier, they have bones that are made out of cartilage. These animals do not have bones. They are something that we call an invertebrate. That's a big science word for you today. That means an animal that has no bones. Invertebrate. Invertebrate. All of the animals, actually, that we see in this tide pool, they are all invertebrates. Even though sea stars feel hard sometimes when you touch them, they do not have any bones. That's why none of these animals are a fish. Fish are going to have bones, in addition to fins and other things like that. So, great question. We try to call them sea stars, and same thing with our jellies, like our moon jellies. We tend to not call them jellyfish because they are not fish, actually. So that's a little bit confusing. We like to call them sea jellies. All right, explorers, that is all the time that we have for today. We do have another program at 10. Lourdes will be teaching that, and it's going to be all about corals. So if you remember at the beginning of this episode, we were looking at those colorful, beautiful, warm water corals. That's all that we are going to be exploring at 10. We hope to see you there. If not, keep exploring.